Hello, good morning. This is Rick Pena, and I'm bringing you today's word for August 13, 2014. This message is part of the series entitled Grace-Based Success. We've been in this series for over a month now, and I trust that it's been a blessing to you. The title of today's message is Satan Cannot Stop a Person Who is Walking in Their Purpose. The devil cannot stop a person who is walking in their divine purpose. Last night, my pastor, Pastor Tony Brazelton, told the story of a time when a man fired a shotgun right at him at point blank range, and he wasn't hit at all. The rounds just went around him because God protected him, because God was protecting him for his divine purpose, his divine assignment. His point was that you cannot stop a man who is walking in his assignment. You cannot stop a man who is walking in his divine purpose. Satan cannot stop God nor his purpose. So this made me think about my own life. And so I was sitting there, I was like, man, I got all kind of stories, all kind of testimonies. And so I was led this morning to just share a couple with you. When I was 3 years old, I got hit by a car. Now, this was a 1975 Lincoln Continental. Back then, cars were built more like tanks. I mean, this thing was ridiculous. It was huge. It was made out of steel. And I got hit by a car. I slid up under a van. My uncle pulled me out, and when he did, I had blood coming out of my ears, my nose, and my mouth, and I was completely unconscious. So we were poor, we didn't have money, so they flagged down a cab. We didn't have a car. They flagged down a cab. My mother jumped into the cab with me, and I'm bleeding all over her, right? So here we are in the cab. My mom had just gone through a divorce, so she was in a foreign country, the United States. She had just lost her husband, and she was about to lose her only son. And so as she looks down at me, I'm bleeding all over her, and I'm seemingly lifeless, right, because I'm unconscious. And so I have all this blood coming out on her, and she's sitting there, and she cries out to God. She cries out to God, and she prayed, and she told the Lord that if he would spare me, that she would give me to him, that she would dedicate me to him, and that I would be his. I thank God for my mother. And so when she did that, I woke up. I woke up just before we got to the hospital, and so they rushed me into the hospital. When we got there, they rushed us right in because they saw the blood all over me, the blood all over her. They rip off my clothes, they take me to the back, and they go through. Long story short, bottom line is, they look at me, and they were baffled, right, because they couldn't find anything wrong. And so they could see the blood all over my clothes. They could see the blood all over my mother. And I was just 3 years old. I was a little boy. And so they kept running a battery of tests. And at the end of the day, the bottom line is this. They could not find. Well, I had no broken bones, no bruises, no scars, no cuts, no internal bleeding, and no loss of blood. And so they kept me for 3 days because it was like, no, we have to find something. And after 3 days, the doctors in this country, the doctors called it a miracle, right? After 3 days. And I'm 42 years old right now. Let me tell you, all I can remember from that incident in the hospital was eating a bunch of ice cream, and I had a good time. But I'm 42 years old today. And those 3 days that I spent in the hospital when I was 3 years old are the only days I've ever been in the hospital. I've never even received an IV in my whole life. The hand of God, the protection of God is all over me. Now, if that were all, then that would be good enough. But no, I have many more stories. Let me just mention a couple. Let me just tell it to you this way. When I was 11 years old, I had a .357 Magnum. 11-year-old. Imagine somebody, your children or a nephew or something that's 11 years old, and then think about somebody walking up to them and putting a .357 Magnum to their head. I had a .357 Magnum placed on my temple just to rob my sneakers. By the age of 17, I grew up in Brooklyn. By the age of 17, I had been shot at multiple times. Once I was shot at with a sawed-off shotgun, and they missed. I knew I was blessed. I just didn't know, that God had called me or anything like that. God was protecting me for my purpose. I had, by the age of 17, I had multiple knives placed at my throat. I've been shot at. I had gun, placed in my head. All kind of crazy stuff had happened. By the time I was 23, I was ready to receive Christ. I was born again at 23. After I was born again, one day the Lord sat me down, and it's almost like it was a movie, almost like a movie. He played for me all these incidents that happened in my life, and he told me that was me. You remember this happened? I had angels protecting you. Remember this happened? I had angels protecting you. I did this and I did that. And I thought people just call me lucky. Matter of fact, in the Dominican Republic, I have been protected, by God so many times. They call me El Santo, the saint. I mean, just because of all these things that happened to me, but I didn't know it. God was protecting me for my purpose. So this birthed a level of confidence in me. So by then, I started to learn about God and learn about my purpose. In 2005, during one of my multiple trips to Iraq, I had, because of my job, the responsibility to fly all over Iraq and to visit multiple sites and all this kind of stuff from a communications perspective. And but by then I already knew what my purpose was, and I knew I was called, and I knew that I have many things to do in life, and I haven't done them yet, so I'm not going to die. And obviously, if God protected me even before I was born again, of course he's going to protect me now. So here I am in Iraq, and I had to fly around all to a bunch of cities, and I had to fly around on helicopters. Now, during this time, they were shooting some helicopters down, but I had somewhat conditioned myself already because I've been on so many helicopter rides that whenever I got on a helicopter, I took a nap. And so, this was no different. I got in a helicopter and I would take a nap. And as we flew from city to city, we flew place to place. A lot of the other people with me were freaking out. They were nervous, they were scared, afraid, and I was sleeping like a baby. And they were saying, man, how can you sleep? We're flying over Baghdad or Tikrit or Mosul or whatever. These are hot spots. You can't just be sleeping. And I was like, yeah, I can sleep. I can sleep well because my confidence is not in those pilots. My confidence is not in these weapons. My confidence is in God and in the assignment that he gave me. And I'm not done yet. And so I told them, kind of like matter of factly, the guys that were with me, I said, dude, I cannot die. I just cannot die because I haven't done what God told me to do yet. And, some would receive it, some thought I was crazy, but I'm serious. Even now, I cannot die because I'm not done. I'm not going to die because of some freak accident. I'm going to die when I'm done because I'm doing what God called me to do. Now, don't take this as arrogance. This is actually humility. This is humility because I've surrendered to God. My confidence is not in me. My confidence is in God and what he called me to do, and I'm just saying yes to it. And so my confidence is strong because I know that God cannot be stopped. I mean, who can stop God? No one can stop God. So I'm going to stop here for today. I'm going to just share a few quick points with you. Tomorrow, I'll probably continue to flow in the same vein. So what does this mean to you today? Let me give you 7 quick things. Number 1, God is so good and his grace is so amazing that he actually protects people for their purpose even before they acknowledge him as Lord. That's my testimony. Number 2, a man or woman who is pursuing their divine purpose cannot be stopped because they have the backing of heaven. Number 3, the greater your assignment from God, the greater the attack is going to be from Satan. I know this from personal experience. I also know this with my children. God has shown me all the attacks. And he said the greater the assignment, the greater the attack. Number 4, the enemy's poison cannot stop your purpose. No matter what the enemy does, his poison cannot stop your purpose. Number 5, being called of God does not mean you're not going to be attacked. Actually, it might even mean that you get attacked more. But the point is that the attacks can't stop you because stopping you means stopping God, and God cannot be stopped. Number 6, when you understand grace, your confidence is firm because your confidence is rooted and grounded in God and in his commitment to you and in his commitment to the purpose he established in you before the world began. And number 7, and finally, when you live in alignment with God and his purpose for your life, you will experience supernatural protection, provision, power, and peace. You will get everything you need because you're not doing your will. You're doing his will, and if it's his will, it's his bill. Wherever he leads, he feeds. Wherever he guides, he provides. If you're doing what he told you to do, you will receive everything you need. I'm not saying that you're not going to come up under attack. Matter of fact, it might be lots of attacks. I'm just saying that you'll be able to continue on because the power of God will be on you. The grace of God will be on you to overcome every attack of the enemy. So let's close this out with a confession of faith. Say, Father, I thank you for teaching me about your grace and how you made plans for me before the world began. I open my heart to hear from you. The more you reveal your purpose for my life to me, the more confidence I have for success in life. because my confidence is not in me. My confidence is actually rooted and grounded in you, in your commitment towards me, and in your commitment to the plans that you made for me before the world began. I no longer live my life on my own. I no longer pursue success on my terms. I am no longer the captain of my own ship. I have been crucified with Christ. I die to self. I pick up my cross daily and I follow you. Your plans for me are far greater than anything I could have ever come up with. As a matter of fact, your plans are impossible. That's why they require faith. So I declare by faith that I submit to your plans. I say yes to your will. I say yes to your purpose. I say yes to your assignment. I receive it by your grace and I pursue it with my faith. As I live this way, I know heaven has my back. Heaven is my source to resource your purpose. Heaven provides me supernatural protection. Heaven gives me access to supernatural peace. I know I will be attacked because your purpose for my life is worth attacking. But I am not moved by what I see. I am only moved by what you say. I will win in life because you will do the winning through me. I declare this by faith. In Jesus' name, amen. This is today's word. Apply it and prosper. Now you have a blessed day. God bless you.